I'm Chuck Liddell.
And I'm Ryan Morphin. Welcome to Non-Beta Alpha. Welcome to Non-Beta Alpha. Today's episode, we have a special guest. Chuck Liddell's here to talk about MMA and his new podcast. This is Non-Beta Alpha. Chuck, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you spending time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So you've got a new podcast coming up called Icebreakers. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the podcast business.
You know, honestly, I did a podcast with one of the guys that books me, this guy Ari. He asked me, he called me back after I did the podcast. He said, man, I ever thought about doing a podcast? He said, I got a guy, Adam Ray's looking for someone to do one with. And I met Adam. He's a comedian. I actually never heard his comic act. I think we'd already done 5 episodes before I actually went and saw him perform. And he's actually really funny, which is kind of a relief because you are a comedian. But we had a good rapport, and he was a good balance for me. So if I start talking fight stuff, you know, he didn't know a lot of my history. He doesn't know a lot of. So if I start telling stories, and one of the things I have a problem with sometimes telling stories is not putting enough backstory, not explaining to people or new fans that they have some things that they need to understand the story. So. You know, he was good for that because he was like, wait a minute, hold on, why are you talking about that right now? And so it went good, and I'm having fun doing it. So
yeah, and so you had some big guests coming on, and how do people find the podcast? It's
just Icebreakers on anywhere.
On Podbean and all those platforms. And so you guys are talking with athletes, you're talking...
Athletes, anybody really. I got a buddy of mine's coming on talking about... body language stuff that he does. He's a magician. He's awesome. He's gonna be on there. Rich Ferguson, if you don't know him, he's got some sick body. He reads body language and does. He interpreted. Actually did a court case I was in, and after the court case we talked to the jurors, and he read them pretty much straight
to the
through.
T. That's interesting.
It was pretty cool.
So what are your thoughts on where MMA's gone today? I mean, the sport's blowing up in a good way. How is that business?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's the best sport in the world. I think it's the best sport in the world, and I knew it was going to get here someday. I mean, we were just a little surprised at how fast it got here. You know, I think that everyone knows the breakout thing for it was The Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. You know, The Ultimate Fighter coming out was huge for getting us out to Dana called it his Trojan horse to get a free fight on TV.
Yep, that's smart.
Free fight, and then to have that fight be the Bonner Griffin fight. I mean, it was an amazing fight. We couldn't ask for a better fight to have the main event on the night of that the first free, fight on TV.
Well, in the sport, I mean, it's getting, I'll say more professional. There's more ad revenue coming, right? It's now outperforming boxing, I would say. Would you agree with that comment? Is it the sport?
It's bigger than ever. I mean, there used to be 5 UFCs a year. Now they've got something like 40. Yep. The smaller shows, the bigger shows, and then the pay-per-views. And the sport's growing. I mean, it's getting better and better. The women's division's gotten really competitive.
Yep.
In the beginning, it was that the problem with the women's division was there's a few really good girls and then the rest. And now it's becoming a lot more competitive.
There was this video that was out of, I guess, an Oklahoma State football player bullying 2 smaller guys. I don't know if you saw this, and they were in the bathroom at a club and kept pushing them around, and they looked at each other, and they totally beat the heck out of 2, D1 football players. And it turned out they were MMA guys, from local Oklahoma City. And it speaks volumes that, 10, 20 years ago, this wasn't that pervasive across the country. But now you better be cautious of who you're picking a fight with because there's so many kids now who know how to fight. It's insane. You
don't know what they look like either. I had a buddy of mine that was one of the best leg lock guys in the world. And these guys would be like, want to start a fight with him. I'm like, dude, relax. And I don't want no problems with you. I want to kick his ass. I'm like, no. Like, I'll knock you out. Yeah, you'll probably be maybe a headache tomorrow, but you mess with him, you're going to get knee surgery next week. You're going to a knee doctor, and you're probably going to get surgery sometime in the next month or so. So who do you want to mess with? Don't mess with him. He's going to break your knee.
Yeah, no, you got to be careful. And it's pervasive across the schools now today. Like kids are starting earlier,
Oh yeah,
5, 6, 7. I mean, they're doing MMA, and it's good because it teaches discipline. It teaches self-defense and confidence.
I think the martial arts side of it's important. I mean, for me, martial arts was a big deal for teaching me, being able to concentrate and being able to set goals and achieve them. So I think that it's great for a kid's confidence. Also, you get in a fight, someone threatens you, or it's not the first time you've been hit in the face. It's a lot harder to mess with you. A lot harder to intimidate someone when you train to fight.
Yeah, no, it's important to know if you can take a punch or not. Because
I mean, it's when you've been hit before. It's not the first time. It's not the first time I've been hit. So,
so tell me a little bit about your story. How you got into MMA. I mean, you started, I guess, in football and wrestling, but how did this journey get started?
I started in karate when I was 12. I started doing wrestling when I was 14. Wrestled in high school and college. Wrestled at Cal Poly. While I was at Cal Poly, I taught a friend of mine to kick, who did boxing before and he's a wrestler. And he went back to Vegas where he grew up and started kickboxing. And his name's Alfie Alcaraz. He actually fought in the UFC for a little bit too. But yeah, he was, he's kickboxing. I went out to go see him fight. And I got there to the weigh-ins. I'm out there for the weigh-ins. We're standing there, and his trainer comes up to me. Nick One Kicks. We're good friends now, but he comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Alfie says you're pretty tough. You want to fight?" Sure. Okay, tomorrow? Okay, cool. They tried to put me in. I didn't end up fighting that night because the guy, when the commission asked me how many fights I had 0. And then the guy I was supposed to fight was the main event. He was 15-0. And so the guy, they looked at Nick like, really? He was going to pull a guy off the street to fight this guy like this? Because I guess the guy that was supposed to fight him didn't show up to weigh-ins. So I didn't fight him. But at that point, I got kind of bummed. I was kind of, oh man, it sucks. I don't get a fight. And he's like, well, if you want to fight next time, go home and train and come back. And by kind of luck or just weird, I just met the week before John Hackelman, who became my trainer and still to this day is my friend. And he trained me all through my, didn't change camps ever. I mean, I'm loyal like a dog. So, and he's a great coach, and he helped me all the way through. And
what does training look like at this level? Like when you're a professional MMA fighter, like how many hours are you in the gym? How are you watching your food, your calorie intake?
As we went through, it's kind of a funny story. Like I first started fighting MMA. I've been kickboxing for a while. And I had a buddy of mine. We were in a strength and conditioning team, right? And him and his buddy was a nutritionist, the other guy. And the nutritionist comes to me and goes, "Okay, we're gonna help you with your diet too, to help you out with this." And he asks me write down everything I ate and drank over the last week, every day. Just eat normal. Just write it. He looked at things and goes, "You're a professional athlete. What the hell is wrong with you? So 2 liters of Mountain Dew a day? Are you out of your mind?" He's all, "First off, the Mountain Dew stops today. No more. You're done. Or I'm not working. I can't do it." And then he went through it. But I learned to start eating right. I think the biggest thing, you were a wrestler, so the biggest thing that he taught me and made a lot of sense when he said it, he said, "Okay, when you make weight, you gave me 8 weeks." Because at that time, my training camps were 8 weeks. You gave me 8 weeks. Give me 1 more day. Eat right. Don't go
back.
Pig out. Go.
Yeah.
You just eat normal. Just after you make weight, eat normal. Because as a wrestler, you make weight and just go eat everything you couldn't have before the match. It doesn't make any sense. You got 1 more day. After that day, go ahead, splurge, have a great time.
Yep.
So I went on from there. Just
And so how many hours would you go for a day? I mean, do you work out for like 5 hours, 6 hours?
No, I hear the guys say that all the time. I used to see Tito say, "Oh, I work out 8 hours a day, 6 days a week." I'm like, wait a minute, I've been at your house when you're training. Are you counting like driving to and from the gym? So you do about a 30-minute run in the morning, and then you do like 2 workouts, and I was at both of them, and they were both about an hour and a half, So I'm like, at the outside, that's 3.5 hours. Okay, where's 8 come from? Where do you get 8? Are you driving?
That's all that talking in between.
Are you driving to and from? Are you counting driving to and from the gym, talking to people on the way in and out?
Yep.
Including warm-ups. I'm talking about, but on a good day, about 3 hours. I mean, I did. Wednesday was an active work day, active rest day for me, and I did Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday would be my long days. And then Saturdays was usually a hard conditioning, a hard sparring, hard conditioning day, and then rest.
So how do you find somebody to spar with you? I mean, I'm sure there's not a long line of volunteers. Maybe there are, but
you'd be surprised how many people want to learn. People that are in the sport, they want to train with the best, and it got easier to get sparring partners the better I got, and the better position I got in. It was easier. And I've always been a guy, I don't beat up my sparring partners too bad. I mean, hard to the body, easy to the head. I mean, there was a time when we called it outside sparring, where when I first started, John would take me, before every fight, he'd take me to the gym and get outside, what they call outside sparring. You go there and it's not friendly sparring. You go out and basically fight each other with sparring gloves on. And he'd wait till I go out, get a knockout, and then go, okay, just wanted me to remember I can knock people out. And then we'd just leave. Okay, we're done. That's enough. We're good.
Well, so you have Thai kickboxing, karate, and wrestling. You picked up any other martial arts? Jiu-jitsu?
Of course. When I first started, talking about doing a mixed fight. I went to a few places, took a class. My buddy Scott Adams had been doing some jiu-jitsu, and I started training with him a little bit. And then after my first fight, I got offered a fight in the UFC, and I started training with John Lewis out in Vegas, and started doing jiu-jitsu. And it's funny, like even at this, I remember I was in Holland, 2000-ish, rolling with Overeem, who I wound up fighting later, but I was rolling with him, and the first I pulled guard and I swept him, and went for an armbar. I missed it, and he goes, "Man, I thought you were a kickboxer." I'm like, "I'm here with John Lewis." I'm here at this seminar with John Lewis. That's why I'm here. But anyway, so I'm rolling again. I did it, and I swept him again, got on top, and tried for missed again. But he goes, "Man, you don't have submissions on the video game." I was like, what? It was funny, but it's funny to this day. Like I was rolling with one of John Lewis's guys a couple years ago, and with a gi on, but I didn't have my belt or anything, so I did not. And I was rolling with one of his brown belts, and I'm sweeping him. And he's like, I thought you were a kickboxer. Like I got a purple belt from your coach. I've had that purple belt for about 15 years, so it's probably not. And I've been training the whole time, so I probably should have tested again, but never have.
Well, so what do you think makes a great MMA fighter? You've seen a lot of people, your friends, your colleagues.
Well, for me, people ask me all the time, what if they have one thing when they come to you, what do you want? And for me, I want a wrestler, because there's a lot of, one of the reasons is, you have to be like, if you give me an all-American wrestler, you gotta be smart. You're mentally tough. Mm-hmm. You know how to make weight. Yep. The only thing I can't teach, you have athletic ability. I can't teach that, and you're mentally tough. And I would say, it's not that you can't teach mental toughness, I just don't want to. Right. At this point, if you're coming to me to fight, I don't want to have to teach you that. Yep. And the one thing I can't teach you is a chin. And like, you can either take a punch or you can't. And I had one of my really good buddies that I think he was 11-0 at the time. Almost got dropped by a guy that should never beat him, but he barely got hit. And he had about 3 concussions during college wrestling, which is kind of weird, to have that many. And so he just figured out he couldn't take a shot and decided, man, I'm done fighting.
Wow.
It was like 11. I think it was like 11-0 at the time too. But
And what is it? Is it the body type? Is it the jaw type? You think that some people can take a punch and some people can't?
you know, I don't know what makes the difference, because I've seen all different sizes be able to take a punch, and the same thing with like that knockout power. Sometimes some people have it, and some people, it seems like some people have it and some people don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can teach certain things, you can add certain things, but it's almost like that explosion. Some people just don't have that.
That twitch muscle, yeah.
Yeah, that snap.
Well, so you've been all over the world fighting. You know, everyone knows about like Brazil, but are there other places in the world you've been to? You're like, wow, this is a pretty tough part of the world.
I mean, in Japan, obviously, and that was fun to go there and fight and train. Those guys are really good and really technical. Fans are really actually pretty educated in the techniques. You know, and you got the Russians over there. I haven't been to Russia yet, but I want to be over there. They got a lot of good guys coming out of
Russia.
And now you got a lot of good guys coming out of everywhere now. Like, it's starting to get better and better. But like the mixed martial arts, it takes a little time, because a lot of the countries are missing the wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of countries you come in and they're missing the wrestling, and I think it's one of the things that makes. Helps the Russians a lot, because they're coming in. They got great wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling's big over there, so coming in with that wrestling background really helps.
You know, the Iranians have a great wrestling program. Do they have any good MMA in Iran?
You know, I haven't been there.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody come out of Iran for MMA, but you would think because of the pedigree of the wrestling program there.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah, I'd be surprised. Now that you say it, I'm surprised there isn't more.
That's interesting. Well, so question for you is like, so the landscape's changing. There's a lot more people doing it. It's getting more competitive. Who would you say right now is the up and comer in MMA? Like, is there somebody that we should be paying attention to that may not be on the top of the card, but you think is a tough person?
Not at the top of the card, a tough person. God, I can't. What is that? Well, those are big names. I'm trying to think of somebody that's.
Well, while you're thinking about it, I mean, who do you think right now is the best right now technician or the best athlete in MMA?
Well, I mean, Usman looked very impressive his last fight, last few fights. I mean, he's been dominating that weight class. That's going to be interesting to see. See how he does there. He's got a test coming up. I mean, John Jones, despite his weaknesses, is still the guy to beat at 205, and he's still the guy that everybody wants to see. I know I wouldn't mind seeing him fight at heavyweight too, and if they make that fight.
Well, a guy like that's weighing in at 205. What is his? How much weight is he having to lose to cut to get down to for the weigh-in?
Most guys are walking around off season with 25, 220, and some of your best heavyweights of all time, like Fedor, could have made 205. They could have cut the weight if they wanted to. He wasn't massive heavyweight. Cain Velasquez, I don't know if he could have made 205, but he wasn't. I think he can walk around in the high 30s, 230. So I don't think, although they're talking about him fighting Nagano, so that's about the big end of the heavyweight class. So he's a 265er, right?
Yeah. Well, a question for you is like, so are you seeing that the boxings like the De La Hoyas of the world, how are they trying to stay relevant when people like yourself and Joe Rogan have crossed from just being MMA athletes to kind of pop culture personalities, right? You have a big following, a lot of followers on Instagram. Is boxing dead?
I'm still a fan of boxing. I like watching good boxers, and I'm still a fan. I think you could be a fan of both. I mean, it's not one or the other. They're two different sports. And I try to explain that to people all the time. You get, especially boxing, people will start talking, "Oh, the punching's not good. This isn't good. That this and that." You can't even stand in a boxing stance in MMA.
Yeah.
You can't come out and you cannot stand you stand in a boxing stance, you'll get taken down or you have your leg destroyed. If I've kickboxed with any boxer, he's got one round to knock me out. If he stands in a boxing stance, I will kick his leg, And if he even makes it through one round with me kicking him in the leg, you know, and if he can't, you can't stand in that stance and fight me.
So you told me a little bit about your story about, you know, you were literally a few weeks from, you know, going back into accounting and not going. Can you talk a little bit about that story, about that next, you know, final push?
It was one of those things. I was kickboxing. I've been doing it for a while, trying to make that work. And it was, I was doing what I loved. I love fighting. I love training. I love everything about it. Being in training camp. I love, you know, I love my life. I was having a great life, but, you know, I had a degree in accounting. And pressure from my parents, my grandma, my mom, about getting a real job. You know, go get a real job. You know, and really I wasn't making any money. So I wasn't making any money kickboxing. There wasn't any money in it. And I kind of was getting to the point where, you know what, this has been fun, but what am I gonna do? Like, and right then, same guy that got me into kickboxing, Nick One Kick, called me up and goes, "Hey, Alfie says you're a pretty good wrestler. Do you want to do a mixed fight?" Sure, why not? Let's do it. So I started training for that fight and go out and wound up fighting a guy, kicking him in the head, knocking him out. And some guy from the stand that was watching comes over and says, "Hey, you want to fight in the UFC?" I'm like, "Sure. Well, sign me up." And I was invited to UFC 17 as an alternate to the tournament, and the rest is history. I won that fight and went on to have a great career in the UFC.
Yeah, 22-0 in kickboxing, and was it 21-9 in UFC?
UFC, 20-2.
20-2.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. That's a long career. I mean, have the fighting styles changed since today versus 10 years ago?
Well, 10 years ago, I mean, everything evolves in the sport. When I first came into the sport, one of the big advantages I had was I was a striker and a wrestler, and I just needed to learn jiu-jitsu. Yeah. There's really three elements to fighting, the mixed martial arts. There's striking, there's a wrestling, meaning takedown, and then jiu-jitsu, right? So I had two and had to lose one. Most people were coming in with one and had to learn the other two. So that was really advantageous to me. And I went above that. When I started learning jiu-jitsu, I really concentrated on learning and getting good at about 20% of it. I worked really hard on getting off my back. And I kind of combined like rolling to a knee bar and rolling to and pop and just hip icing my leg out together, and kind of did a push-pull system on the bottom, and no one could stay on top of me. And that's all I really worked on. I worked on bad positions and learning enough about submissions to know what you want. Because like if we're competing, I want to know what you want. If I'm gonna catch you setting me up, I need to know what you're trying to set me up for.
Right.
Because otherwise, it's too easy for me to walk through that. Like my jiu-jitsu instructor just said, it's like being in a room with four doors. I leave one unlocked because I want you to come through it. Yeah, I lock the other three, and I want you to walk through that one. If you walk through that one, there's your trap.
There you
go. And that's what he tries to do when he's wrestling with you. And if I don't know where the trap is, I might open the wrong door, right?
Yep.
So I spent a lot of time learning submissions, learning what they need to finish them, so I could counter them, and then just getting off my back. So I spent all my time doing that, and then later on I started working on for fun.
And are you watching videos of the people you're gonna come up to fight? Like you do?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We developed a game plan. There's quite a few fights where we actually added a technique, or added something that helped me end a fight, or helped me finish a fight. Like when I kicked Babalu in the head, we saw in the tapes that he was doing this before he shot all the shots, and when he swung back, he's going to shoot. So he circled his head back and shot. And so I just switched. When he started circling his head back, I just switch kicked. We ran right into it. So
bad trapdoor to run into.
Yeah, but I love watching film because it gets you a basic setup. Like I know what because I like to pick people apart, and I'm a very calculated fighter. So I'm trying to set you up. So now if I watch your film, I know kind of how you react to certain things. Now I just go out there and test it and see if you're still going to react that way to me, because you react different to different fighters, right? Because guys train for different people different.
Yep.
But if I can, okay, that one's going to work. I know that one's going to work. Okay, this one's going to work with him. Okay, good. Here we go. And then that's kind of how you work through and win the fight.
So being a pop culture icon for a lot of the emerging MMA fans, what's one of the craziest fan stories you've had? People coming up to you or things they've done?
The craziest fan stories. Depends what we talk. The craziest, I don't know. I mean, the most ridiculous. Sometimes I had a guy one time come up, knock my daughter down. I'm walking on the head, knock her down by mistake. Okay, I'm picking her up. First words out of his mouth: Can I get an autograph? I looked up at him. You're lucky she's here. Go, get away from me now! Like, guy took off. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, you just knocked my daughter. If he had said, "Oh, I'm so sorry,"
Have some manners, yeah.
I'm so sorry. Is she okay? And then said, okay, yeah, be careful next time. But here you go. But some people just, I think, but for the most part, I mean, I've had a few ones. Like I had one when my kids were, I'm climbing the jungle gym. My big ass is on the top of the jungle gym, chasing my kids. This guy comes over, hey, can I get a picture? I kind of went, when I'm done, sure. And he's like, oh, what an asshole. Walks up. I'm like, did he just, what? Like, it's like, are you, me? Oh yeah, it's me. I'm the bad guy, right?
Oh, that's funny.
But for the most part, I mean, I've got 2 of those stories, maybe a couple more like that. But other than that, my fans have been great, and I've had some crazy stuff. I had someone ask me the craziest thing I had to sign. I thought about it, and so some guy came up one time and said, "Hey man, I got this. It's gonna sound weird, but I got a happy face tattooed on my ass. Would you sign it? I'm gonna get it tattooed." I'm like, okay, I guess, yeah. If you really have a happy face tattooed on your ass, I will sign it. I'm like, okay.
Off the bucket list. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, no, I appreciate you coming on the show. You gave me a haircut today. If you guys can't see, I got the Chuck Liddell cut. And we raised some money for some scholarships for some kids to go to college. So I appreciate you. You're a great patriot, great athlete. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you.
This show is brought to you by StatusJet. Elevate your status. Fly anywhere, anytime, and experience the difference. Visit statusjet.com to charter your private jet today. Thanks for listening to this episode of Non-Beta Alpha. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube so you never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or simply share this episode with your friends. And now you know.
All price references and market forecasts correspond to the date of this recording. This podcast should not be copied, distributed, published, or reproduced in whole or in part. The information contained in this podcast does not constitute research or recommendation from Non-Beta Alpha Inc., Wentworth Management Services LLC, or any of their affiliates to the listener. Neither Non-Beta Alpha Inc., Wentworth Management Services LLC, nor any of their affiliates make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or any information contained in this podcast, and any liability therefore including in respect of direct, indirect, or consequential loss or damage is expressly disclaimed. The views expressed in this podcast are not necessarily those of Non-Beta Alpha Inc. or Wentworth Management Services LLC, and Non-Beta Alpha Inc. and Wentworth Management Services LLC are not providing any financial, economic, legal, accounting, or tax advice or recommendations in this podcast. In addition, the receipt of this podcast by any listener is not to be taken as constituting the giving of investment advice by Non-Beta Alpha Inc. or Wentworth Management Services LLC to that listener, nor to constitute such person a client of any affiliate of Non-Beta Alpha Inc. or Wentworth Management Services LLC. This does not constitute an offer to buy or sell any security. Investments in security may not be suitable for all investors. An investment of any security may involve risk and the potential loss of your initial investment. Investors should review all risk factors before investing. Investors should perform their own due diligence before considering any investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Investment products, insurance, and annuity products are not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, not insured by a federal government agency, may lose value.